Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ron. You guys know me already as the host of this revolutionary podcast. And um, it took me a minute last week. I'm sorry I took some time off. I had to try to get a little better equipment. It was one of my main issues. Was a lot of feedback that I kind of had. Was this was kind of not enjoyable to at least listen to due to the background saturation and the noise. And hey, look, I'm working with a limited budget, so we do what we can and we make it work from there instead of making excuses. So forgive me, but we're back. So, um, this one is gonna be a little weird, and it's gonna be a very unpopular subject. But I really feel like we should go into it, and I feel like it's something that we should definitely talk about because it's something that matters. It matters to me. It should matter to you, and it's definitely one of those things that if left unchecked, we're gonna have a huge issue with. So I want to talk about gun violence, not from the aspect of cops shooting blacks or Latinos or whites. I can honestly care less. Um, what I'm going to talk about more specifically are the blacks. This is gonna kind of going to be like looking back at urban culture, not even blacks specifically, but urban areas. And I'm gonna just start off with this statistic. When George Floyd died, the date of his death will mark that of 2020. And according to a Times article that I had read, and I verified it against a couple other backgrounds and a couple other sources. And since George Floyd died in 22 by at the hands of Derek Chauvin and everything that kind of blew up the Black Lives Matter movement, which we talked about already as far as how little I am concerned with that group. But since that has happened, only in 2020, 800 people had been shot in New York. 113 people were shot in Minneapolis, where he died. 990 people were shot in Chicago. Shot. Part of 414 murders, which totaled 2020 out. Because this is before now. Now, I mean, this was after his shooting. But before in 2020 encompassing led up to 1,637 of them. Now, at what point do we look at this and decide that cops killing blacks really ain't a thing? Cops killing Latinos really ain't a thing. Cops killing whites really ain't much of a thing as far as urban and inner cities are concerned. See, I think that's one of those things that it helped push a nice narrative. It really did. And congratulations, Black Lives Matter and the group. You guys gotta you really got your name out there. And a couple of you managed to buy houses and get things that you normally wouldn't have been able to get had this not been a thing. But hell, you took it and you worked it. Have at it. Um, the reason I bring this up is because when I see a distraction that's holding people from being better, I have to say something. I feel compelled to. I feel the need to, and maybe I don't express it in the best of ways at all times, but I try to express it to the best of my abilities. And as far as this is concerned, this is a distraction. 100% it is. This is one of those situations in which we are annihilating each other at over 1,000 times the rate that a cop is assaulting one of us in an inner city. Yet we find ourselves focused almost exclusively on it. I don't understand it, and it's highly confusing to me. I really don't. I don't get it. I don't understand how a cop can kill a black and we go riot in the streets for months, and how that same day, that same night, the 4th of July weekend, Memorial Day weekend, blacks can go around killing each other with impunity and we refuse to say nothing. See, I'm under the firm belief that people are going to continue to treat blacks like animals until they stop. And I would like it to change. I think a lot of people would like that to change. But there are some that don't. And I'm going to I guess these are questions I'm going to ask. Because if you're in a category where you don't want this to change, why not? Why are you so content in being the same way you've been? How are you so content to do this stuff? How are you going around raising your fist and most likely being some of those same groups that's going around that night shooting up your own people? I get it. Some of you are just losers. What else can I say, right? Some of you are just bums. No job, no real career, and hopelessness kind of running rampant within your system and your communities. But at some point, we all have to get together and wonder, like, what is the problem as far as our folks dying? And it's us. It's A, the people that refuse to say something, and B, the people that continue to perpetuate this cycle that street cred or whatever the hell you want to call it is a viable means of currency, of social currency. Why the hell do I want to prove myself to a bunch of idiots on a block that ain't never done nothing with their lives? 4 or 5 kids and no job? Why? Because you bring home a couple. You got a couple thousand. How many bids you get to get that? If you did it at all. Because nowadays a lot of cats in Chicago are just turning state's evidence as quick as they can. Because you talk hard until it's that moment to do your sentence, and all of a sudden you're singing like a canary. But that is what it is. I don't understand this. Somebody help me understand why the Mothers Against Senseless Killing, one of the founders, was killed, and that murder's still not solved. Somebody else, one of you guys know who did it. Why did 7-year-old Natalie Wallace had to be one of 53 killings in the Chicago during the 4th of July? 7-year-old. A group of idiots decided to get in the car, drive down the road, and shoot at a party. You cats ain't got enough hearts to go shoot one another? Shooting from cover, shooting while running, shooting from a car? You want a gun that bad, go join the service. Go Marine Corps infantry. I assure you, they will teach you how to use a rifle, and you will have enough practice in doing it. But this? Can't you realize you're killing your own brothers and sisters? And that's just fine with you. And what are you doing it for? What are you after? What reason? Man, I ain't never seen a drug dealer or a gangbanger retire. Never seen it. I don't even know if you guys even are affiliated with an actual gang. No one of the cartels are running rampant through here. They're actually an organized group of people. Cops will continue to kill us until we decide to step up for ourselves and take pride in who we are. I find it funny that Martin Luther King spent how many years trying to abolish this problem of blacks being oppressed and suppressed by the societies around them. that there were people who went against the Ku Klux Klan that were going around hanging blacks in the middle of the street. We go from all of that to seeing our people laid on the ground every other day. If we're lucky, most likely it's every day. We go from talking about how we've been systemically oppressed. Yo, if you really want to share example of systemic oppression, you might want to look back into the hood at your own people. Because I've seen plenty of people oppress their own. Fathers oppressing their children. I got two cousins right now. They should have been in college. Their name is Isaiah and Joshua. They should have been in college. But they got this piece of shit, terrible human of a father who ain't never did anything with his life. Who's got a wife that's willing to track up behind him and do whatever he tells her to do. And this man has poisoned these kids. And instead of these kids being able to go to college and go make something of themselves, I assure you, they're going to be in jail within the next 10 years if they're lucky. If they're lucky. But that's where our oppression's coming from. We're oppressing ourselves. Gangs going around killing each other with impunity, and the residents of these urban areas just refusing to speak. That's a massive problem. And I don't understand how to fix it. I don't. I want to know. I want to know how to fix this. Because it's only so long we can go before somebody's going to say something. Or we're just going to continue being crushed. I don't understand why it comes to the point where our people feel entitled to kill one another. That doesn't make you extraordinary. Taking somebody else's life, what have you learned from that? Every time somebody dies, and I assure you this, every time you kill somebody, 2 lives are lost that day. The person who died and the person who killed him. Because there is no coming back from that. We gotta be better than this. Why are our only times where we are mentioned or spoken about is when somebody's trying to use us as propaganda, good or bad? Oh, cops are killing blacks. Oh, blacks are killing blacks. At what point do we decide that we might want to stop being used as propaganda and we might want to start having some pride in who we are? I don't know. It's as saddening as it is confusing, but it's something that needs to change soon, because we can only go on so long with this before it all comes apart, and it's starting to unravel more and more and more. It's coming to an end, and unless we put a halt to this, we're gonna find ourselves in a situation in which systemic racism is going to be the last of our problem. It's going to be more bad than good running rampant in these cities. And when that happens, we're not going to be able to stop what's coming. That martial law, that cop killing, blacks problem that you guys have is going to multiply if we don't put a hold to this, if we don't put a stop to this. It takes a community. I firmly believe so. A legitimate community in order to change the trajectory that we're on. This culture has to change. And let me explain that, which is point one of this whole rant that I'm going on right now. The culture that we're currently being pulled up in to believe is that somehow this gang banging gangster thing, that's our identity. That somehow being a thug is an affiliate of black identity. And it's not. It shouldn't be. If you knew where you came from, you didn't start with slavery. And for you to think that that's a thing, you have a major problem. Yo, as far as blacks are concerned, you might want to go look back where you came from in the motherland and exactly what you had out there. Most of us are descended from kings, queens, and royalty. Some aren't, but most have roots in that. Just like the Aztecs and the Incas are so deeply connected with Latino and Latina culture. I think that's, and this is just my opinion, but I think that's one thing that a lot of other cultures have that we don't. See, the Irish, Italians, the Jews, they make sure to remember who they were and where they came from. And they pass those messages down. If all you think is that you started as a slave and your lineage started as slaves, if that's what you think, you have no reason to improve. You have no reason to produce, and you have no reason to grow. Can't be mad at that though. Because hell, if I thought I started as a slave, then shit, I'm doing pretty good. But here's the problem. You didn't start off as a slave. None of us did. Slavery's been around since the beginning of time. But there's been, a lot of us come from warriors, politicians, kings, queens, traders, mathematicians. I mean, I don't understand where we lost our sense of identity, but if we think that that's where we came from, then I find us to be sorely mistaken, because we definitely did not. Another portion of this that I do have an issue with is how we allow, going back home, like back to where I'm from, Chicago, like there's a lot of people that are disappointed if you're educated. They mad at it. They're legitimately angry at it. That's a lot of social pressure. Because when you see us in movies, when you see us in the media, you see a lot of people, the media wants you always to be a thug, a gangster, a gangbanger, that dark guy with a gun in the corner. That drug dealer in that project movie. They always want you to be that. So as you're watching it and then you're getting pressure from your own people, at some point I know most break. Like, okay, apparently this is just who I'm supposed to be. And without a good leader, like, I don't know, most people fall victim to that media loop of what we're supposed to look like. But as far as the education piece is concerned, when you got that much pressure on you, most people decide to just give up. But here's the thing. Education matters. Your education is huge. Your education is the one thing that's going to separate you and get you out of this hood, get you out of this ghetto, get you out of this lifestyle, get you out of this problem that is growing up in the inner city. The uneducated you see running around the streets right now, these gangbangers, they think they have a job, they think they have a mission, but they don't have a clue. They don't even know what they're doing. Their followers listen to some rap song, think that, damn, this is the way I'm supposed to be. Go out into the hood and make a nuisance, sell drugs to the same 18 people, come back with a couple hundred, couple $1,000s, go back out, rinse, wash, and repeat, never finding themselves in a position to unify and make enough money to actually make a change to be able to even stop that. They're too busy buying and spending because they don't have the intelligence to save or put their money up. Not that I'm saying that you should be to begin with, but if you are here, if you find yourself in this position, I mean, damn, you could at least do something with it. But you want an example of what it looks like when you don't really have two brain cells to put together. Go look outside in Chicago. See all these killings. That's animalistic. That's all it is. It's animalistic. No intelligence is being applied to this level of thought whatsoever. Bears do this shit. I'm angry. I'm kill something. Sharks do this shit. They eat, kill, shit, and fuck. Like, that's about it. How have we found ourselves on the same plane as bears and sharks? As a culture, I'm not saying, look, I know under this message there's going to be a few outliers talking about, oh, you know, I know a few people that made it, but here's the thing, most of us haven't, and that's the problem. You running around, if you running around and you thinking like, man, graduating high school or something, you've got a problem. We're not graduating college, and listen, you're talking to a guy with a GED. But I assure you, I've taken more certification classes than anybody else in my culture. There's plenty of things I learned to build because I decided that's what I wanted to do. No one's giving out intelligence, but they're not keeping it from you either. We've got to add a level of thought to this culture because that's another part that's missing. And so besides media interpretation and intelligence, my biggest issue with the culture of us being black is the fact that we don't have any leaders. And I'm not going to lie, it's what I'm trying to do. It's the reason I get on this microphone and I continue to talk. Yeah, I want to be a leader. And I don't want to be a leader that blames others. I'm that guy that's going to push you to be better than what you were. I'm that guy that's going to call your bullshit because I hope you call me on mine. We got all of these fractured efforts trying to save kids, trying to get kids into STEM programs, trying to get college tuitions for them, trying to defeat systemic racism, trying to, get kids on the lawyer track, get kids in all of these, and they're all fractured efforts. The reason that we're failing right now is because we cannot unify our efforts to any common goal. We can't. We have no ability to unify ourselves and our goals. It's killing us. It's downright destroying the culture that we're trying to build. Without proper leadership and without unification, this culture will be doomed to do the same thing over and over and over because no one's driving us out of the circle. We almost get there. We start in a circle, then somebody comes along and starts deviating it, so we move a little to the right before they go away, and we start the circle again, and we continue to move right. And it seems like ever since King was killed, I mean, no, King was killed. We didn't really haven't had any. Then the Black Panthers came, last of the good ones, and that happened. Everybody, hopefully, Judas and the Black Messiah. Fantastic movie, if you ask me. It details exactly how that happened in Chicago. And it sucks, but it shows you that this country doesn't want you to succeed. And as long as you continue to go and stay fractured and do just a little bit, they're okay. But the second you combine with a real effort to escape the orbit that you're on, they're going to have a problem with that. And that's fine. But that's why we need a unification. That's why we need unification strategy. That's why we need to come together as far as putting everybody on the right track. No one wants us to succeed, but a handful of people that aren't in charge. So, unless we pull it off ourselves, we are going to be doomed. And I can't afford that. You cannot afford that. You can't afford to be repressed because you're not a unified effort moving toward a common goal. The one good thing about this day and age is a lot more people are more accepting. There's at least a general conscience that's available to us now. And we're wasting it on these goddamn rappers. Listen, I'm a deviate for a second. I know I really didn't want to go on to this one, but here we are. Listen, those producers and those executives that's allowing the bullshit to go out that you're hearing in rap, they're doing it because it keeps you stupid, doesn't require you to think, and continues to feed into the nonsense that you purvey. Let me gangbang, kill my people, buy some Jordans, and buy this next CD. Yo, take a step back when you're listening to this music and actually wonder, with all that's going on right now, actually wonder, are they really trying to say anything about the times we're living in? Or do they give a fuck less about me too? Because rap, with everything you got going on, you think that you talk about anything that's happening within the culture. Nah, you cool. You just rather talk about your diamond chains, the women you banging, throw a few, bubble butt chicks on the screen, and then flash a bunch of cash and a shopping list that people can't afford. Guys, you're consuming this. You can't. It's trash. And I think that's doing worse for you than anything else. Because it's being played constantly and constantly and constantly to the point that you start believing that this is who you're supposed to be. You're not. These cats are jokes. Rick Ross, joke. Lil Yachty, joke. The jokes. And they don't care about you. They don't care about your future and your kids. They don't care about whether you get up in the morning. They don't care about whether you get shot that night. They don't care. And they will continue to put this out until we decide as a culture to stop accepting it. And we've got to do that. And it's going to take some effort. But jumping off of the culture and getting back onto the need for community, which is my last point. I get it, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of disenfranchised people who feel like the game has been stacked against them. There are family of people who've had everything taken away from them. They're friends of people who've had everything taken from them back in the day when they were trying to make a living legitimately. And they feel like, a lot of people feel like this is the only way, right? But you can't. The inner city is the way that it is because we just refuse to take care of it. With housing prices being as cheap as it is in those types of areas, with real estate and businesses, storefronts, whole storefronts you can buy in the hood for cheap. We talk about we want to own buildings and own neighborhoods. We literally are in them. And we refuse to take care of them. We have to do better at that. We've got to be there. I remember back in the 90s, man, I used to walk down the street as a kid, and I'd look and be like, damn, that's a black-owned beauty salon. It's a black-owned nail salon. It's a black-owned store. They weren't great, but fuck, they were a start. Where is that? Why are we exporting all of our great out of our communities? And I get it. It seems like a losing battle. And I'm trying. I'm trying to get any reason to come back. I'm exporting myself because I'm not putting up with that. I've served this country for too long to go back and have to deal with some idiot that thinks he's a gangster. You won't find, we won't, it won't end well for anybody involved. And I just have no patience for it. So I guess the question is, the point I'm trying to make is we gotta take care of our own communities, because if we take care of it from bottom up, from our children, making sure they go to school, making sure they get their work done, their homework done, making sure we put them in the best position not to end up like we were, we've done something with that. If people rally around these kids without dads that's having a bad time, I never got the chance to be able to be like, go over my neighbor's house and know my neighbors in the community. I was too busy trying to get as far away from them as possible because they're all idiots. Most of them were. It won't start off perfect, but if we don't have a vision in mind, time is the only thing that's a constant. And it does go. Every second ticks by. And until we find ourselves in a position where we can kind of escape this trajectory, then we're going to be doomed to repeat this over and over and over again. I can't take that, and I don't want it for my people. So as a community, we have to bind together, because if we don't, this is going to get worse, increasingly worse, consistently worse, until we find ourselves in a position where we just can't escape the trajectory that's been presented to us. I don't know. I just want everybody to at least find themselves in a position where they can link up and build together a community in a place that we own and make something of it. We have every chance to pull this together, but it takes us all. And, you know, we're coming to the end of this, so I'm going to end on this note. The world is looking at us. And as we go out and as we act out, the actions of one are indicative of the whole. Well, most cultures can go out, and if some guy does this or some guy does that, that's just an isolated incident. When you and I go out and we act and present ourselves in a certain way, it's indicative of the entire culture. Why do you think if you find somebody who speaks well, who enunciates their words, who not even using big words and more complicated, phonetics, like you sometimes hear somebody they mess up with this, but they're like, man, you speak well. Well, for what? Because just as we're being fed this media loop of who we are and what we're supposed to be, everybody else is watching it too, confirming their biases. Do I think implicit bias is a thing? No, I think it's a fucking ridiculous thing that a bunch of college idiots came up with. Sorry, my liberal half of the group. I love you guys. You guys are so goddamn sensitive every now and then. But as far as the image that's being portrayed, we're getting viewed like we're getting put in these positions because we're allowing ourselves to be. We're allowing ourselves to be looked at as if we're the problem. Because we allow each other to act, we allow our own to act out on a more than consistent basis, which consistently messes us up. How many times do you want these people to hear about us getting shot, or somebody committing some mass shooting, or somebody getting convicted for selling whatever, before they finally like, man, maybe that's just them. Yo, the actions that you walk out and portray, the things that you do, the things that you say, the way that you act and conduct yourself is indicative of the whole. Everybody's watching us. That is no joke. So as you go out, as you step out of the house, as you speak to your next door neighbor, as you conduct yourself on a bus, as you conduct yourself in public, just know that every time you pull something, every time you act out, every time you hold yourself in less than an intelligent manner, you're dooming the rest of us. Is it fair? No, I don't think it is. But in order to defeat a game, you got to know it. You got to know that you're a part of it, and you have to understand how it's played. We're in a game. And if we don't stop, this is going to turn into a game for our lives. And that's just something I really don't want to live to see. So, how do we get past this? It takes A, a community, B, unification from everyone, and C, understanding that you are indicative of the whole. You play a vital role. So we can either build one another up or we can spend the rest of our lives tearing each other down. No one's going to help us. You have to do it yourself. Is it hard? Yes. But it's worth it. Like anything else, it is difficult. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's been real. I've enjoyed it as always. Um, Subscribe, please. Get at me. Let me know any comments. Like I keep saying, I'm more than happy to one day pull it together and have a group of people on here and have a little round table with a couple different people. I think that'd be a fun time. So if you want in on this, if you want to have a conversation, just contact me. Let me know. I want to do about 10 more before I start bringing some guests on, but hopefully the new setup is nice and it's coming through clearly. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Be safe out there. All right. Out.